Welcome back to the And Both podcast. Before we start, I want to say, if you're already feeling stretched thin, overwhelmed, or like the holiday season is coming in hot before you've even had a chance to catch your breath, you are in very good company. This month's Roundtable is one I've been looking forward to because I needed this reminder for myself, and it's coming from two women who are great at putting words to feelings and emotions that so many of us are experiencing. For this November Roundtable, Erin and I are joined by two women you've heard me mention before. Paige Connell, known as She is a Page Turner, talks about the mental load of motherhood and gender inequities wrapped up inside of it. And Allie McQuaid, the millennial mom therapist who works almost exclusively with moms navigating burnout, perfectionism, and the how did we get here of modern parenting. Today, we're talking about the holidays, not the sparkly curated kind. We're talking about the real stuff, the invisible labor, the emotional thermostat keeping, the expectations we inherit without even realizing it, the generational friction, the mom guilt, the rage that shows up when you're doing everything right and still feel underwater, and the ways we can gently rewrite what the season looks like for ourselves and our families. So as we go into the season, it's easy to get wrapped up in the shoulds, and I think this conversation's a gentle reminder, not a reality check, that so much of what we might think we need to take on to be doing the season right may not be the memories we hear about later on. So please be kind, patient, and gentle with yourself as we go into this season. And as I say at the end of my newsletter, you're doing a great friggin' job. Let's get into it. Welcome to And Both, a podcast about what it really looks like to put yourself on the list while raising kids and doing all the other things life asks of you. I'm your host, Ashley Blackington, and on this show, you'll hear conversations with moms who are figuring it out in their own ways, plus a few solo episodes from me from time to time. It's not about having all the answers. It's about sharing stories, learning from each other, and knowing we don't have to choose between either or when we're living in the middle of and both. Let's get into today's episode. Hello and welcome back to our November Roundtable. One of these days, one of these months, we are going to have a solid intro situation here, but this is not it because this is not the time of year to be taking on more projects. I'm really excited to have Paige Connell and Allie McQuaid here. You guys have heard of them before, millennial mom therapists, and She is a Page Turner on their Instagram handles. Welcome, both of you.
Hi, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Excited. I'm excited because I think that you guys have a lot of expertise in this time of year and talking about it all year and how I feel like this is like the Super Bowl for especially millennial moms and moms who are like, my plate is full. My plate was full in July, and now my plate is overflowing. And how do I do this? So before we dive into that, how about if you want to introduce yourselves, that would be a great place to start, I think.
Okay. I'm Paige Connell. I am, you might know me from She is a Page Turner on social media, where I focus in on the mental load of motherhood, but more specifically gender inequities as they exist in marriage, parenting, the workplace, and the repercussions of that. I am a mom of 4 kids, and so the holiday time is a time over here. We're really in the thick of it. But yeah, that is where I focus most of my work, though, is focusing in on the experience of motherhood as it relates to those inequities.
Awesome. And I'm Allie McQuaid. I'm a licensed therapist in the state of Maryland, and I work almost exclusively with moms, especially within the millennial generation, hence my handle, millennial mom therapist. And throughout my work, especially over the past 6 years, I found that a lot of themes have shown up within this mindset of, well, how do we get here? A lot of us were born in the 80s, the 90s, and we were kind of led to believe we could kind of do it all and be it all. And I work with a lot of moms who are identifying as like type A, perfectionists, like kind of the typical, like was a good girl and now has fallen down the super mom pipeline and they're burnt out and overwhelmed. So yeah, when I've found pages on Paige along the way, and I'm like, yes, this is what I hear all day, from my clients. So I support moms in kind of navigating that and trying to, break free from that a little bit. So yeah.
I'm right there with you. I'm definitely a millennial, 81 baby. I will proudly state that. And we wear that resilience badge very well and follow the rules until you realize that the rules aren't holding you very well.
Yeah.
How do you take off that superhero cape? I don't know. Tell me.
Right. It's like we never wanted it to begin with, but it's sometimes framed as like a compliment, like, oh, you're such a super mom, or, how do you do it all? And so I think a lot of moms feel like they should be proud of that, but they're like, no, I'm not actually able to handle this. So yeah, they don't want that cape.
No. Because it's too much, right? None of this is it was never meant to be one person. It's that it's diverting of assets. And our biggest asset is time. And people are really good at being like, well, if you could. And again, it's that the good person and the following the rules and all of that stuff. And then you get to a space where you're like, all right, I don't know last time I had water. I am not sleeping. I am eating the leftover sandwich off of my toddler's plate because I can't be bothered to make another sandwich because all I do is make sandwiches. Oh my gosh. And I feel like, Paige, every time I open up Instagram and you're there, I'm like, yeah, nailed it again. Yep, nailed it again.
Well, it's funny. I think it shows up so different for all of us. I am a millennial type A eldest daughter, and I wore that all as a badge of honor growing up. I was like perfect attendance. It mattered to me. It really did. It was something I prided myself on and cared about. And my little sister, she's a middle child. She would make fun of me like, oh, perfect Paige. But I don't think I recognized at the time how deeply ingrained those expectations were just in me as a person. But in motherhood, it's funny because I think so many women will, they'll say after having kids in particular, like, I just have so much rage, right? And it's like, it's the rage, it's so often attributed, and there is that. There's postpartum rage, right? But there's also am I raging against this machine that has put me in this position where I'm overwhelmed and I'm burnt out? Of course I'm angry. Of course I'm filled with rage. This is obvious to me now looking back, but when you're in it, right, it feels foreign. You're like, why am I so angry about the life that I wanted? This is the life that I wanted. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, and I'm filled with rage, and I don't know why. And I think that's why it's so hard for people to change those dynamics, is because they feel also a lot of shame in even just saying out loud that I'm not having a good time over here.
Yeah. Well, and it's so deeply tied to their identity too, because I think hearing you say this was something I prided myself in, this is something I identified with, and it probably served you well. It probably made you successful. It led you places. So it's why wouldn't becoming a mom also enhance that or add to that? And I think when it actually brings up these really uncomfortable feelings that I think so many women maybe felt like they couldn't have when they were younger, this rage, this anger, displaying that was not allowed essentially, for so many of us. So it can feel like an identity confusion, conflict.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I have 2 boys and I have 2 girls, and just going through the process of raising children and looking at it from the outside of what is okay in terms of expression for girls and boys is so vastly different. It starts early. It gets real heavy real quick. I have this conversation all the time with my son. One of them is the world will make it okay for you to be angry. If you are angry, it will always be spun positively, right? You're being assertive. It's a dominant driving factor. This is all roads lead to positive reinforcement of this, which makes it easy for everything to fall into that bucket, right? You can just dump everything in. Being uncomfortable, being sad, being whatever just gets dumped into this angry bucket. Whereas women, and this has definitely happened in different schools that my kids have been in, with girls, it's we're talking about the feelings and we're processing things and we're going through stuff and everything's fine except for anger. You're not supposed to get angry. We have to work on conflict. However, when there's conflict among the boys, it is, okay, well, they're just being boys.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, oh my God, this is how it starts. They're so little and you have 2 different languages that we're applying.
Well, it's also 2 different experiences, right? My 2 oldest are Black. And so I see another angle of this too, which is that, right? My son plays baseball, and one of the boys chucked his helmet, right? After he struck out. And we're all really intense. My son threw a bat and I was like, you will never play baseball again if you throw a bat. Get out of here. We're really on them about appropriate behavior. You're allowed to be angry. You are not allowed to throw a bat. Right? You can be angry, but that behavior is not okay. You can feel the emotion, but you can't do this thing, which I don't think people were doing in the 90s. They're like, he's passionate, you know? But one of the dads said, like, oh, these boys are so intense and competitive. Like, they're all either going to win championships together or end up in jail together. And it was funny because I was like, he was making a joke, right? But I was sitting there and I was like, yeah, the difference is like, my son likely would end up in jail and your little white son won't probably actually end up in jail, right? And so like they're living two different experiences. So actually when I talk about anger with my children, I talk about it differently with them, especially my two oldest, because of how they're perceived, right? The idea of like the angry Black woman. But then at the same time, my daughter is 7. And we have not made it one full school year without somebody touching her hair or doing something or making comments about her appearance in a way that has not happened to my white daughters. And I'm like, of course this girl is angry. And yet she doesn't show it at school. She's so quiet about it. And I tell her, I'm like, get mad, like get mad. And she says, I don't want to get in trouble for getting mad. And it's so interesting to your point, Ashley. It's like it's starting so young. And yet like, we give permission to the people with the least consequence for their anger to be angry. And then the people who don't have permission to be angry have like the most like reason behind their anger. Like there's so much happening. And then they were like, oh, but say it nicely. And they probably didn't mean it. Right. Like in this whole narrative, it's just, I was really shocked as a parent how young this messaging comes for our kids outside of our homes, not from what we do, but from what they receive at school and just in the world.
Yeah. I'm right there with you, Paige. My girls, I have 2 daughters and they're mixed. And, you know, I knew going into parenthood, I was like, okay, my daughters are going to be mixed and they're going to have curly hair. And I don't know, I'll face it when it comes. But I didn't realize how it was going to unfold and the conversations I'd have that me as their white mother, I'm like, I don't know. I haven't experienced that. And I'm going to approach this probably very awkwardly because I don't have the same experience as you.
Yeah.
And we do our best, right? But it did start way earlier than I thought of. Even in like kindergarten, someone called my oldest a monkey. And I'm like, that's not okay. And we can get angry over that.
It starts so young. It's so sad.
Yeah.
It also, too, like, I am still floored at the idea, like, yes, how young it starts, but also the varying degrees of, like, is this what we're doing here? That happens? Like, it's, you know, it's not a comment that is, you know, some sort of like little snip. It's like someone really puts their whole foot in the puddle and they're like, are you gonna say something? Like, it's not a like a dribble litmus test. It's like, I splashed. Who's mad about it? And you're like, well, I mean, I think I definitely am mad about this. And then it sets up to like, then you have like this, like the parent ripple. And there's so much of this that I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, these are children. We're trying to teach children to like be kind and be respectful and ask questions and be curious and all of this stuff. But like, like I had somebody make a reference the other day to slavery. Now, my children are not Black. I was like, hold on. Like, we're not even going here. Yeah. And I'm like, it's 2025. This is not okay.
Yeah.
But it's scary. It's scary for what's like the filter. Like, everyone seems to have lost some piece of their filter or they just threw the whole thing away. And you're like, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. But it's interesting how it's tied to the, you know, the emotional labor that women tend to do and the policing of feelings that I think leads us to what we were talking about, like the burnout as a parent, which is like, my dad used to joke that I was Switzerland. Like, Paige is in the middle. She's going to agree. She's going to like hold space for all of you, but not, you know, not take sides. And because my parents were divorced, right? So I was Switzerland. I'm not picking a side. I was like, I'm going to just like appease everyone because I just want everybody to be happy. And I think that showed up a lot for me as a parent, where I was like, well, I want my husband to be happy and I want the kids to be happy. And then it's like, but are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Are you feeling what you need to feel? And I think that's the same thing with our kids, which is like they're learning what it looks like to keep the peace with their peers and like when to stand up for themselves, but also what are the repercussions when you stand up for yourselves? Like what, they're figuring it all out. But I think to Allie, your point, it's like, it's our identity. It's like we grow up and then at a certain point, it just stops working and you just can't proceed anymore.
Yeah. Well, and I think when we think about the expectations that so many moms carry of feeling like you have to kind of like manage everyone's emotions. And the other day I used the term like emotional thermostat, where you're like kind of like checking it so everyone feels comfortable, everyone's okay, like everyone's managed, and you're kind of keeping this experience moving along while also making it look effortless on your part as well. So I think that when Ashley reached out about talking about the holidays, I'm like, yeah, moms feel, I think, this immense like responsibility to be making sure everyone's experience is good, or that everyone's enjoying it. And I think that falls into the burnout that so many moms are facing, and this pressure to be, this intensive parent, even though you don't want to be perceived as being, you don't want to be the helicopter parent, but you have to be involved. You have to be there and doing it all and making sure everyone's having a good time and making sure it looks good. It's a lot. And yeah, like managing everyone's emotions on top of it. It's like, how could a mom have a time for herself, like at the end of the day as a result? Yeah.
Yeah. We want to be the fun moms, yet we're all like kind of screaming inside, right?
Literally.
Oh my God, the fun mom. The fun mom. I like, that is one title that I wish would just like fall off the back of the turnip truck. It like, I'm like, how could you possibly be the one, like if you're the one who's always responsible for noticing and doing and tracking. I mean, I know that I am speaking to the choir here on this, but like, how would you expect someone to have fun? Like, it doesn't, if you handed the list of tasks that you need to do, monitor, whatever, to someone, you're like, okay, now be fun. Like, what?
Like, that's not a checkbox on this list.
No, like the holidays are such a good example of this too, because my mom usually hosts this Thanksgiving event every year. It's not on Thanksgiving. It's always like the weekend prior. And she's like, everybody's bringing the babies and the kids. And I'm like, I'm not having fun. Your house is not baby proofed. There's a million sets of stairs. There's glass everywhere. Like, I'm not having a good time. Right. And I'm like, this is not enjoyable. And yet you're expected to show up with your kids in their cute outfits, and you bring a pack and play with you and a sound machine and formula. And then you walk around following your toddler. And it's like, everybody's like, oh, why is she always so stressed? How come she can't just relax? And it's like, I don't know, because if I relax, my kid's going to fall down a flight of stairs. And so it's funny because I think the holidays, not only logistically, are like exhausting, but emotionally, right? Emotionally, there's so many people that you have to manage. It's like, if I go to my mom's, are my in-laws going to be upset? And if my in-laws are upset, then like, who's going to have that conversation with them? Is it me or is it my husband? And then you're thinking about your kids too. You're like, well, I don't want to lug them to 4 houses. And so how are we going to do that? And so much of that falls on us. And then yet we're still expected to create like magic. It's like, this is meant to feel magical. It's meant to feel special. So don't act like any of this is stressful, because then you're going to ruin it for everyone else. Right. And so it's such a interesting time of year where I think this is when a lot of women kind of like, it kind of cracks open for them, where they're like, this is not sustainable. And this is the time of year where they feel more than ever that like everyone else gets to experience magic, but they don't.
Yeah, for sure. And also it's this opportunity for reflection, whether you want it or not, right? It's like you're another year at, if you guys do the same thing for the holidays, you're another year where you're here and you're like, okay, I was here last year. The dog ate his dinner. This one fell and like cut their leg. This one like had a blowout accident and there's no place to change. It's like a comedy of errors. And you're like, okay, we're here this year. Again, these are the other things I'm dealing with. And then how many years do you string those together before you're like, I don't actually want to do this anymore. Like, this is no fun. I just have an annual reminder that this sucks. And then we all get into the living room and take a big picture. And it's like, this is so much fun. You're like, I'm going to look back on that photo and be like, I really wish I stayed home. But everyone else is like, look it, this was all us together. And you're like, I feel sweating through this photo.
Yeah.
A lot of things coming up.
Oh, no, for sure. I initially went to like, I think this is when just all the moms leave everyone else and we just go do our own thing for the holidays. It's like, that's how we will create the magic for ourselves. We just ditch everyone else.
Yeah. It'd be nice.
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm the anomaly here. I'm a single mom. And so it's like, there are holidays where I don't have my kids. And it's always like, there's that reminder of, oh, I'm alone. or this would look different if XYZ had happened, or whatever, but it is a challenge to then embrace the holidays differently. And, like next week, I'm going to go see my family and my kids are going to go to their dad's and I'm just going to do my own thing.
Yeah.
Which is lovely. But also there's stress because, it just looks different and I have to call my kids and I'm not with them. And then there's sadness there. Or, there's always going to be a host of emotions that are going to get us wrangled up in our minds and in our hearts. But
yeah.
I think that's part of being a mom too.
Absolutely. Well, and I think like what we've been talking about here about like the expectations. So maybe what we had in our mind of visualizing like holidays with family and everyone's one big happy family, and like maybe this idea that we thought we had in our mind, or it somehow going smoothly, or traditions. I know I talk with a lot of moms about having a sense of tradition, and they feel like, oh, well, if 1 year that falls off, then it's ruined. I failed. Like I think this connection to like failing, a holiday, which I mean isn't a thing, but I get that feeling comes up, and maybe for you, Erin, like feeling like something's missing, or this wasn't what I thought my holiday seasons would be looking like splitting it with someone else, or not having my kids here. And yeah, how could that not bring up sadness? But it's a hard thing to carry during a time when everyone's telling you to be happy.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I mean, I think I totally identify with that failure piece, and maybe you guys can too, of even if things go awry, like Christmas morning, or you have these expectations and then someone like doesn't get the gift they want and everyone's mad all of a sudden. It comes back to that creating that like homeostasis and that thermostat in our homes too, where like it all falls on us to make that magic when we don't have to.
Yeah. But there's that added layer, I imagine, for you, Erin, too. It comes like with that, like that emotional work we do with our kids. As a child with divorced parents, I just remember I felt a lot of like people pleasing, like, well, I'm going to go to dinner with mom, but then I'm going to try and get back to see you, dad. And then I'm going to, and I'll try to see Papa too. And I'm like, and there were some Christmases where I was at like 4 houses, and I was like,
yeah,
I had wanted at that time, and boomer parents, so I didn't really get that. But like I had wanted at that time for my parents to be like, you don't have to do that, Paige. Like you don't have to take care of us in that way, or like our emotions about it. And I think like we millennial parents, like we are so much more in tune with what we feel like we didn't get as kids. Like somebody recognizing that, like, I don't want my kid to feel badly, if this doesn't happen or whatever that is. And there's that layer. But then I also think there's that layer of always around the holidays, there comes up this topic of, I've said before once on the internet, like, please don't feed my child, because I have a kid with an allergy. And I'm like, don't give my kid food. Because for me, it's like I need to be monitoring her. She's little, and I have to make sure that there's no, like, people don't realize that there's like egg wash on that cookie and she's allergic to eggs. So like, don't give her that cookie. And people were like, you're so ungrateful for the help you're getting. That was some of the commentary. And I was like, I'm just trying, like, I'm trying to participate, but then also protect my child. And it's like this added layer of, I think what a lot of millennial parents feel is like this added layer of judgment of how we're doing it, right? Like, oh, you're a helicopter parent because you won't let me feed your kid. When in my mind, I'm like, well, I don't want you to feed my kid because I don't feel like using an EpiPen today. So like, it has nothing to do with you. It just, and so it's like, there's this weird, I feel like really specific millennial thing, Allie, I don't know, where it's like, there's this generational divide too, where we have to go into holidays with like our armor ready. We're like, hey, don't talk about how much food she ate, or like, hey, don't comment on their appearance. Hi. Like, and everybody's like, oh, these millennial parents are so intense. And it's like, you also feel like you have to justify yourself along the way. And I feel like that layer too is exhausting around the holidays, where it's like, all right, we're going to go. And then we have to have this whole conversation with this aunt who's going to do something inappropriate. And like, it's just another thing that goes on at the holidays.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you nailed it, Paige, in terms of like feeling there's kind of this divide between generations, where millennial parents were wanting to like set boundaries, we're wanting to communicate and talk about emotions, and we're parenting vastly, for the majority, very different than how we were raised. And I think that comes off as like, well, I guess we weren't great parents, like from a boomer generation. So yeah, there's a lot of like kind of defensiveness that often comes up. So And I think around the holidays, what tends to happen, at least, in a lot of families of the moms I work with and myself, is like we're with people we don't necessarily see on a daily basis. So we're around people that tend to like shine a spotlight on the areas where they may disagree, or we're living the day to day with like food allergies or tantrums or, potty training or whatever. We're living it. But then they see it and they're like, oh, you're doing it that way. Or, there's that sense of misunderstanding that I think millennials then carry, that emotional stress and labor of having to deal with that, while they just maybe want to have like a glass of wine and some turkey. Like, we just want to relax too. But I think that so often doesn't happen. So yeah, it's just a lot to carry around such a stressful time of year.
And we're trying to bridge things, right? Like we know how our parents think and like how we were raised and all that stuff. And we're like, all right, we're like the levee between these two worlds. Except like, I feel like the holidays is like New Orleans, right? Like we know that this storm is coming and we know we have these little tiny like people to protect. And it's like, how high is this going to go? And then you end up having, it's either like they're not happy or they're not happy. And you're like, at the end of it, I'm exhausted. And whether or not these sides are happy, I would like to crawl into bed and do that. And I will tell you that I have divorced parents. My husband has divorced parents. And all the way up until we had children, we used to do 4 Christmases, 4 Thanksgivings, for everything, right? It was like, get in the car and do this. And my oldest was born in February, and the last Christmas when I was pregnant, we went and we did all the things. And I said, I just want to be super clear that like we will never travel on Christmas Day. And my husband was like, that sounds great. I was like, I am not going to have my kids pack up Christmas presents and go to someone's house or whatever. I said, that's like us doing all those things for them. If you want to come over to our house, that's fine. You can come in and out all day long, but like my kids are going to play with their toys and they're going to stay in their pajamas and they're going to like watch football and, whatever it is. But like, we're not going anywhere because they need a day. And we can see you before and we can see you after. But like that was not well received in the beginning. It was like, but I want to see. And I'm like, your son is 35. You don't need to watch him open a Christmas present. Or if you do, you can come over to his house and watch him open a Christmas present. It's hard. It's always like you're always trying to play catch up and trying to like keep all of those plates spinning in the midst of like a storm, seemingly at this time of year.
Right. And then there's no break after. Like, then we just, as moms, we just keep going. Like when the holidays are supposed to be relaxing, right? But then there's no break and then we go back to school. It's like, well, when do we get a chance to recoup?
Well, and the lead up is exhausting as well. Like I'm just thinking about, we're doing Thanksgiving and then, it's we do a holiday dance recital and it's the volunteering at school and all the things, right? It's like the demands on your time. I literally, I'm on my desk, I have 5 flyers about a fundraiser and a donation and a meeting for a club and just so much at this time of year. And I understand it. And I like, it's this weird millennial mom guilt where it's like, I want to do all of it. But I said to my husband last night, I was like, I've already done the Giving Tree, Toys for Tots. I donated to this. I gave the money for the book fair. I volunteered at the book fair. And now I have 4 others sitting on my desk. And I actually don't like, I feel like a bad person being like, I can't buy a poinsettia right now and pick it up on Tuesday. And so that one I'm not doing. Like, I can't do that one. And I think that's one of the hardest parts is like feeling like you're not meeting benchmark as a parent, but there's just so much coming at you this time of year between like your kids and school and days off and shopping for holidays, any of those things. So hard. So I just think it's like compounded by the time the holidays come, it's like you're already burnt out. You're like, I've been burnt out since Halloween, let alone Christmas time or whatever holiday you celebrate.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if it's not one thing, right? It's back to school and then it's Halloween and then it's Thanksgiving and then it's Christmas. And then every commercial that comes on the TV is like new you in 2020, whatever.
Right.
And you're like, I just want to nap.
the old me.
Right? The old me. I want my comfy pants.
Give me a cup of coffee and a couch to sit on.
Yeah, but it's true. It's like the bar is always moving, right? Like if it's one of those, it's like a social experiment almost. Like if you signed up for all of those flyers, I guarantee you the kids would come home with 3 more flyers the next day. It's like the Medusa of expectation.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you put one on the calendar. Here's 3 more.
And then you get an illness somewhere.
Yeah.
Like last year, I think it was December 10th, we got norovirus. The whole house went down except for me and my son. He looked at me, he's like, Mom, that's 4 out of 6. And I was like, I know, dude. Like, we got to hold strong, you and I. Like, we got to stay up. But it's like a week before Christmas, like, we can't afford a stomach bug. We can't afford this. This is like, it's terrible. And it's like, that is also a big part of this time of year, which is just kids are sick. We're sick. Everybody's sick. And then it's like, you're still expected to do to what you said, Ashley. It's like, if it's not one thing, it's the next. If it's not one kid, it's another. It's just the race.
Yeah. It's relentless. And it's the stakes are always climbing, but the expectations are always shifting. As your kids get older, it's like they're in this, but they're not in this. And then you've got to do this, but not this. And then it's all moving from year to year. And so you're like, again, I want to try and do a good job, right? Like I want to show up. I want my kids to grow up and be like, my mom was a part of this. And, I felt like they were like bought into all of these experiences in my childhood, but like legitimately you keep changing the rules.
Yeah.
It's not cool. Today's episode is brought to you by Dovetail, the app that's changing the way families navigate caregiving. If you're juggling your kids' schedules, checking in on your parents, and trying to manage your own needs, Dovetail is made for you. I built Dovetail as a clinician and caregiver who saw firsthand how overwhelming this role can be and how much lighter it feels when the care is shared. Download Dovetail now on iOS, Google Play, coming soon.
I feel like it's starting earlier and earlier. I don't know about you guys, but like I saw like the gift guides like starting earlier and earlier on social media. And I think that's an added layer if we're talking about like generational differences. Like millennial parents, I think, are one of the first, maybe Gen X. I don't know, Gen X is kind of forgotten, but like, millennial parents are kind of the first to be in this like pressure cooker of like seeing what everyone else is doing constantly, even people that we don't even know, but people we maybe look up to or kind of like inspired to be like influencers and that sort of thing. And I don't think that's all bad necessarily, because that can, give you new ideas for like maybe new traditions or things that, maybe you hadn't thought of, like, craft ideas. Like I'm not crafty, but I follow some people who have given me some kind of solid ideas and I appreciate that. But at the same time, it's this pressure to feel like you have to get the new pajamas every year or, have the family photo or do all the different elf on the shelf things or all of that. And I think it just, as your kids get older, it feels like there's more and more for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think social media is tricky. Not even just social media, just like media in general. We often will criticize moms and say like, just stop doing it, right? Like if you're burnt out, just stop doing it. But then we also ignore the fact that social media, for example, I think is a good example. It's not just individual creators that kind of put this pressure on us. It's a machine, right? It's corporations. Like Instagram has algorithms that send us this stuff. And my husband is not getting this on his algorithm. Like this is so intentional. And so then when women are burnt out, we say, well, this is a you problem. You're doing too much. You should stop doing that. That's on you. Like you figure it out. But we ignore the fact that like, right. But also like you are flooding me with this messaging, flooding with me with this expectation and judgment. And I don't think we can ignore that. There's millions of dollars in this industry that is targeted towards mothers to make holidays more and more magical, to get them to buy more and more things, to make them participate in more and more. So, we are, I think, to your point, Allie, like we are living in a world where like if my mom wanted to think of a fun new tablescape, she had to like ask her sister and be like, what do you do? Like, what's your tablescape look like? if I want to find a Thanksgiving tablescape, I can go on Pinterest and Instagram and TikTok. And then if I do that for the next 4 weeks, I'm going to get tablescapes in my feed forever. And so it's like, we're living a different life and than they were. And so the pressure and the stakes feel higher, even if you don't necessarily subscribe to it. Like, even if you're like, I know that this is retargeting. Like, I have media literacy. I understand this. It doesn't stop you from feeling the pull, right? Like, that's what it's supposed to do. And then you have to so intentionally push back and say like, nope, I know this is just an algorithm and $1 million telling me I need to do this fancy tablescape and I'm not going to do it, right? Like, but like, that's a conversation our parents weren't having to navigate with themselves around the holidays.
Yeah. I think
that's valid.
I think about like the the influencers, and not to name anyone, but like influencers that were called out for having rented a house. These are like parenting influencers. They rented a house in order to film all of their content. Like, you are telling, like, these would be people that would put together many thousands of dollars worth of things for a holiday tablescape, have the whole house redecorated, yada yada. It's not even their house. Like, it's so removed from reality that it's like you have a company that sends you all of this stuff. You create this illusion and then you send it off out into the world. It's like, no wonder, right? Like, that person is getting paid. The company is getting paid. And they're just like, I guess it rolls down the hill. And
but it's different than I think of Martha Stewart, right? Like, she did that, right? This was what Martha Stewart did and does. The difference is there was no false notion that she was just doing it for the sake of doing it. Like, Martha Stewart was building a business and she had a magazine and a TV show. And like, it was very clear that like Martha Stewart does this as a job. I think the problem with social media is it creates the illusion that it's real life.
Right.
If you talk to the women who do it, because like I am like weirdly, I sit on this line of like influencer, educational creator. And so I know a lot of people who do DIY stuff. Like I know them and they're like, for me, they're like, even if a brand doesn't give me all of this, I do this, but it makes me money. It's how I make money. And like, would I do a fancy tablescape? Yeah, I always did. But would I do this fancy tablescape? No, I wouldn't do this fancy tablescape if it was just for my eyes or for my family, but it's not. It's for the internet. This is my job. And these influencers have taken the place of Better Homes and Gardens. They've taken the place of Martha Stewart's magazine. They've taken the place of that. The problem is, I think as consumers, most people are actually not media literate enough, no fault to their own, to say, I need to look at this creator as if she's Martha Stewart, as if she is running $1 million corporation, because that's what she's doing. Not like she's the lady who lives in the house next door, because she's not. Like, it's a totally different thing. And I think that's the like blurred line with everything when it comes to how we experience parenthood these days, which is like, how much of this is real? How much of this is marketing? And what is that marketing trying to get me to do?
Absolutely. So even knowing that, how do we give ourselves permission to take a step back? Because I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. Even if they know that, they're like, but I want to do it anyway, And it's like, you don't have to. And then you're burnt out. It's such a vicious cycle that we don't know how to get off the hamster wheel of, even when we are smart.
I mean, hearing Paige, you talk about like, I want to do this. And I feel like I'm like, I feel guilty, that millennial mom guilt, if I'm not doing that and that. So I think, this is a great point, where we're still, kind of at the start of the holiday season to like really prioritize, like, what are the things that I want to do this season? It may not be what I did last season. It may not be what I do next season, but what do I feel like I have the capacity for this season? And really like kind of taking mental inventory, schedule inventory of what makes the most sense and what you enjoy. Like, I know like in our town, they're doing like Christmas lighting, like Santa's driving down the road. I do not care about that. And my daughter doesn't even know it's happening. So I'm not bringing that up. But they do have this thing where you can walk through like a light show. I love that. Like, we're signing up for that. So it's like not feeling this pressure that, because my friends are going to the Christmas tree lighting, Santa drive down, I don't have to do that. And, kind of accepting that maybe guilt will show up. So that's something that I talk with moms about, that we can't go into something and say like, well, I'm not going to feel guilty. Like, don't feel guilty. Like, the guilt is likely going to show up. And the more we anticipate it and make it not this like scary thing, but instead looking at like, where is that guilt voice coming from? So it's not deeply internalized as our fault. Like, oh, I shouldn't feel guilty, just knowing that the guilt is coming from societal expectations, patriarchy, capitalism, all of that we should be doing all these things. Instead, it's not a personal failure.
I like to listen to my kids a little bit. Like, what do they remember? What do they recall from last year? You know, my son this morning, we always do two separate gingerbread house competitions, essentially. Like one with my husband's family, one with my family. And they're low stakes. Like we buy these gingerbread kits, I don't know, at Costco. I don't know where we get them, honestly. It's like, it really doesn't take a lot of work. The kids this morning, my son was like, do you remember how many lights I put on that gingerbread house? Like, that is why I won. I did so many lights. And I'm like, you did so many lights. And that was so cool. And he's already thinking of the design for his gingerbread house. And like, that is something that we do at our house with their cousins, low stakes, no fancy outfits, nothing. Like, right? Like, it's just chill. It's so fun. They have so much fun and they think about it every single year, right? Like they every year they're like, when are we doing that? And last year we took them to this like thing in the forest where you went on a sleigh ride and Santa was in the woods and it was a whole thing. Not one of them has mentioned it since. Like none of them. They haven't brought it up. Like, I don't even know if they remember it, right? And it's like, I try to also like, what has been magical for them? What do they remember? What has been important to them? I think about my own childhood too. And like, what are the things that were always so important to me as a kid? And what I genuinely remember is spending time with my cousins. Like, I remember really liking to be with my cousins. And I really remember on Christmas Eve reading the same book every single year for Christmas Eve, right? Like every single year, we just read the same book in our pajamas. And then we all got to open one present and then we went to bed. And I remember that. That is the thing that stuck with me. And that didn't require my parents to do anything crazy or elaborate or intense. And I think like when I try to walk myself off the edge, Erin, it's like I have that conversation with myself. Like, what did I remember? What do my kids remember? Repeat that. Like, repeat that. Do that stuff. And then the other stuff doesn't matter. Maybe it's a nice to have. And if you have the capacity for it, do it. But I do, Allie, the mom guilt, like I feel it. People always ask me, like, how do you not feel mom guilt? I'm like, no, I mean, I feel it. Obviously, every single time I go to a yoga class, like walking in, I'm like, oh, I should be at home. And what if something happens? And how will they reach me? Like, it's this weird thing that I do in my brain. And then I literally just talk to myself. And I'm like, that's silly. That's silly. They're with their dad. Like, they're okay. They're fine. Like, there's an adult there. Like, I deserve to go to yoga. Like, I'm allowed to have time for myself. And I just have to constantly have that talk track going for myself, which is like, it's not a big deal. And in 2 weeks, in 1 day, in 4 hours, nobody's going to remember this. So like, if they're not going to remember it, I'm not going to stress out about it.
Or even better, if you remember it, they'll remember that my mom took time for herself. Like they're modeling, like this is important. So, you know, yeah, I agree. They probably don't remember it, but even if they do, that's still important.
Yeah.
I think it's also a really good reminder that like when we talk about the holidays, my kids too, same thing. It's not an accumulation of like all these things. It is because the rest of the year we're so busy. Kids are in sports, kids are in clubs, kids are in activities, all of those things. Like my kids really like the opportunity to stop and for everything to really slow down. And so like the activities that they like are all really centered around being at home, being with each other and those pieces. And so I think that I try and look at the lens of the holiday season from that, like to your point, Paige, like what is the stuff that they loved? And all of these other things, like it all looks really great and it looks like it could be fun and maybe we'll try it 1 year and it's like, oh, that was a whole thing. But the things that I make sure that we put in are the things that happen that are really like, it's a low lift. Like I just went to the store the other day and got the frosting for my kids like to decorate cookies on Christmas Eve with their grandmother. I do it every year, roll out a big piece of brown paper. There's frosting, there's sprinkles everywhere, roll it up and like, there you go. It's one of their favorite things ever. And it's so like wonderfully simple. And it's all centered around spending time together. And I mean, sugar, but like in all honesty, yeah, that always helps. But that's the thing is like, yeah, you can go and do this activity and there's tickets here. And like, I know families that do that. They sign up for everything. And you're like, you know, how was your holiday? And they're like, oh, it was so busy. How was yours? I'm like, it was great. I didn't get dressed for 4 days. To each is his own, you know, like some people, they do that in response to when they were a kid. Maybe they wanted to be able to go and do all of those things and they couldn't. And now they're like, want to do this stuff for my kids. And so hopefully that's a balance for them and for their kids of what works. But I think one of the other big parts is that if the voice in my head starts with you should or I should, I'm like, where does this should come from? And is it from social media? Is it from family members? Is it from me? As in, I should because I want to.
Yeah. I love the reminder of getting back to simple things, though, because I really do think that those are the things that stick with us. You know, even if you're bored, it's like for some reason those memories stick, you know, like, oh, I just sat around and played cards with my aunt and uncles for 4 hours. And those things stick with me, you know?
Well, what do they say? It's the people, you know?
It is about the people.
Yeah, it's the people.
That exists for a reason, right? Like you can't buy time with your cousins. You can't buy time with whatever. You can buy into all those other experiences, but that's what makes, I think, to me, that's what makes the holidays really special, is having that face-to-face piece. It's just really hard to do that in the social media world.
And it's unstructured time that we're not used to. And I think that's also what makes it more fun, is you're like, what's going to happen? Like, we don't know. It's going to be longer than a 30-second reel. And like, it's choose your own adventure kind of time, you know?
Yeah. I also just think it's like changing. You said the temperature, you know, of the emotional temperature. I also think it's just like the joy, like measuring the joy. Like, what is actually bringing you and your kids joy? You know, I think I was just texting with a friend who's in Disney, and she's like, I want to die. And I was like, I bet. I was like, I remember being in Disney. I remember that not feeling joyful for me. But, you know, it's like we do these things sometimes, one, because we want to, but two, because we think it will bring joy, right? But like when you actually temperature check, it's like, what is happening in this room? Like, are they really loving the Nutcracker? Or like, is everybody really liking this or not really? You know, I think if we go into the holidays and say, is this actually bringing joy, or is it just meeting an expectation? If we like reframe how we think of an activity, I mean, we think about like how it's going to go. You know, you often hear people like, I'm planning for the tantrum and I'm packing the snacks in case somebody starts freaking out. And it's like, if that's already how we're planning to go into it, like, I don't know if we're going to have that great of a time. Like, maybe we don't. So, you know, I think like you can have those conversations in advance of something too and be like, this actually, it sounds like we're preparing for it to not be that fun. But we're doing it because it's like, you have to go see Santa or you have to go do this thing. And maybe you don't have to do that thing.
Right. Or maybe not yet. Like, do you have to have the exact same picture of the exact same whatever for 18 years in a row as a measure that you did that holiday right? False. I'm here to tell you people it's false.
Yeah. We don't need the proof.
I've had 12 children's Christmases and they do not all look the same, and it is just fine. Like I think that's something too. Like someone has to also say, like, it is okay if you don't like get out this holiday and stuff like that.
Yeah.
God, I can't imagine recreating half of the stuff. It's also a different time, right? Like, I'm not taking my kids to do something like potty training, best example ever. Potty training a child, you don't want to go anywhere. And if that's happening over the holidays and you're like in these different houses and you're going to do these all different events, like it's okay if you take that year and are like, we're just going to not do all of them. Do one.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than running through the lobby of a hotel in like, you know, the Christmas outfit or whatever. And you're like, oh my God. Right. I don't know. Could just be hypothetical.
So you've lived something that we don't know about.
Yeah. But it's that like, if you have to go into that much like SEAL Team 6 extraction plan, whatever, who is this for? Because when you look back on those pictures from like, and I think about this like in the pandemic, when I look back on those pictures, the pictures look like something, but I remember feeling completely different than the pictures look. I'm glad I had them, and like they're really great reminders. And I think about that in the holidays, like the pictures that I have of like the kids in the living room and stuff like that. I'm like, I remember that feeling really good. So that's what we hold on to.
Yeah.
I also think the picture thing is so interesting because as kids, you know, like there was one camera that had only so many photos allowed, you know, and like when I think about it, there's holidays, there's not one picture of me as a child. and like somebody just forgot or it didn't develop appropriately or whatever, right? Like something happened. And I'm not worse for wear from that. And I still hold the memories and I still hold the feelings and it still was special and it still mattered. And I think for better or for worse, like our iPhones sometimes too, like being able to say like, look at them this year and this year and this year and this year and this year. And it's like, oh shoot, I forgot to get pictures. And then you feel badly because you didn't get the pictures, but it's like, it still happened. And you remember it and you feel it. And that matters too. But I think even if you never put them on social media, I think my phone does the daily reminder and I love it. Like, I'm like, oh my God, they were so cute. Like, why are they big and stinky now? Like, what happened? But then at the same time, like, I don't remember the pictures I missed either because I don't, that's okay. Like you don't have to have that to capture the joy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. I've been thinking about the photos. Oh, that constant reminder, it's great, but I'm like, is it necessary? That's a whole other conversation though.
Yeah.
And too, like that's another component of it, right? Like who takes the photos?
Yeah.
Like how many photos of mom at the holidays exist? How many photos are mom at the holidays holding the kid and eating like the other hand or, whatever? It's that stuff. Like when you look back on those pictures, like where is the memory? You have all these, if you have all these pictures of your kids, but you're not there, and then your kids, that was something that I remember happened when my kids were really young. Is I was like, I'm not in as many pictures as my kids are in, like with other people. It's like, oh, we've got to not do that because I want them, when they do look back on pictures, I want them to be like, no, you were actually there. Like, I don't want to be the person behind the camera,
right, or in the kitchen,
right. When we wonder why moms are, wanting to get the family photos or get like kind of those like scheduled moments where, they can make sure that they're in the picture. But yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure to like have things be documented and have like proof of memory and, proof of mom and all of that. But I think, yeah, to all of your points, it's like, the memory is still there. And I think it's really important that we find other ways to capture memory. So whether that's like getting like a special ornament or like I encourage a lot of moms. I'm a big like journaler, but I know no one has time to journal. But even just writing something down like from that holiday somewhere, or I've been doing like voice memo notes where I like get my daughter's voice in like a voice note kind of thing, just to like remember like the little voice and as it gets older, but then that way I also feel like then my phone isn't like at my hip at all the time. Because I think that's something that probably a lot of moms now like maybe carry guilt around like having again, that's a whole nother conversation and the reason why, but around the holidays, just having that sense of like wanting to be present and like take it in. I know that's hard.
It goes back to the beginning though. Ashley was saying it's like be present, but don't forget to take the photo. Be present, but did you? And it's like, what do you want from me?
I want to take myself and split it in two and just be like, all right, here's forward thinking and here's in the moment and like, just go.
Yeah.
It's hard. So, I mean, since this episode will come out on Black Friday, what are you guys carrying into the holiday season and thinking about it? And I think that it's important for other people to hear, exactly what things we're talking about, right? Like it doesn't have to be over the top. It doesn't have to be all of these things. So like, what are the things that you guys are keeping in mind going into the holidays?
I mean, for me, I have always been really good, luckily, at saying no to, like, I've never done an elf on a shelf. I never did that. There's certain things I just don't do. And my younger sister makes fun of me. She'll be like, oh, you don't care. And I was like, no, I just don't think for me, it doesn't matter, right? Like, it's not what brings me joy or the kids joy. And so I think like giving yourself permission to also have different expectations than other people is okay, right? So if you can go into the holiday season saying like, my holiday is going to look different than someone else's, and that's okay. But also what it does is it frees up space to do more of what you do enjoy, right? So you can lean into the stuff you do really love. And I think I saw somebody post something like, oh, let's bring back a 90s Christmas, right? Like same decorations every year, same stockings. And my family's always been like that. And I love the nostalgia of being like, this is the same tree every year. Like it's the same tree. It's the same garland. It's the same everything. And that's what makes it special is that like we're not going out to Home Goods and buying 17 new tchotchkes for the mantle. Like we're just not doing that. And so like as I go into the holidays, I think about relieving the pressure on myself and expectations on myself and leaning into what feels good. I will also say, you mentioned this, Ashley, but like as my children have gotten older, what we do is different, right? This year I am going to the Nutcracker because my daughters both do ballet and they're just like, they're into it, and I already feel so excited about it. And they're so excited about it. They ask me every day, like, is this the day I wear the dress for the Nutcracker? And I'm like, not yet, almost. And I think like if you feel something and it lights you up, like give yourself permission to do that. Like if it lights you up, if it lights the kids up, it's okay to also say yes. Like it's okay to say yes to things, even though it's a busy time of year, if it brings joy. And so I also remind myself of that, which is like, I think again, the mixed messaging of like, don't overschedule, but like, it's like also like, but it seems fun, right? Like give yourself permission to say yes to the things that feel good, say no to the things that don't. And my one other thing is I think as the kids get older, I also really like to include them in the work, right? Like you guys are going to help us decorate and you guys are going to help us wrap presents for your siblings and you guys are going to help make the cookies and set the table. And as they've become older, really helping them learn what it looks like to create joy for other people too. And that's also work, right? Teaching kids. But I do think that also makes it feel like less pressure because you're sharing that work with your family and expanding out what it looks like to make the holidays magical. It's no longer just you, it's the entire family doing that work together.
Love it.
Yeah, I like to echo like what Paige said about the nostalgia. I feel like, my millennial heart will die hard. It's like I've always loved nostalgia and we've always done this like, the big bright lights on the tree and we actually like cut down a tree every year. So we always get a live tree. And I think that helps also because it really contains the holiday where we're not putting up a fake tree on November 1st. We're literally waiting till like probably the second week in December. So we really like contain it to a certain time frame. Yeah, our daughter's 5 now. And my husband's actually a first responder. So he sometimes works on the Christmas holiday or Christmas Eve. So also just accepting that it doesn't really matter the day, like if it's December 25th, we've gotten really good at just kind of adapting and being flexible with the date when we do certain things and knowing that it doesn't have to fall on a specific time because that's what the calendar says. So, so that's actually helped me a lot, knowing that I have to kind of adapt to like his schedule and just kind of know that we can have our anchors in our tradition. So we make cinnamon rolls, whether it's December 25th or December 24th or whatever, we make cinnamon rolls that morning or we do cookies. So yeah, a lot of the in-home stuff and just being home. And I think, having a COVID baby, we got really good at just being like, nope, we're staying at home. And 2 years later, I got the flu. The next year, my husband got COVID. So it's like every Christmas we do tend to get a sickness. So I'm waiting. And hopefully this year it's nothing bad, but that's almost like just kind of forced us into like, you know what, we need to rest. We need to stay home. And I always try to like book something for myself, whether it's like, a nail appointment or go out with girlfriends or something like around that holiday as well. Just something for me to look forward to as well.
I love it. What about you, Erin?
Yeah, I'm all about nostalgia too. So we have, all the same ornaments and I love dancing in our living room. So we'll crank up the Christmas music and we pull out all the same ornaments and have stories and have the silly, Christmas songs on and just make it a fun night of decorating. Hopefully my girls get involved. They don't like the cleanup. They like putting things on the tree. And then, I think like Allie, what you said, it's because, I'm divorced. It's like, well, we're going to celebrate this when we do. It doesn't have to be the day. It doesn't have to be this perfect whatever. It's like, it does come back to the simple things of just being together and we get to just relax. And so let's see, I have my girls for Christmas this year. So we will do things Christmas morning and do the whole shenanigans of, cookies and cinnamon rolls and all that. But yeah, I love the traditions. We have some good family traditions. And so I do like to stay rooted in those.
I love it. My kids' favorite thing to do for the holidays is to buy each other presents.
Oh,
It is so fun. Oh my gosh. Like when your kids get old enough to buy presents for their siblings, to watch your kids do that is like, it is so happy for me. Just like last year was the first year. My son's 5 now. Last year we went We went to Five Below. We were in and out of there. I'm not kidding, in like 8 minutes. And he got like presents for everyone. And he was like, this is great. This is great. This is great. All right, let's go. And I was like, this is the best thing I've ever been a participant of in my life. Like, I'm just here to drive. It was the best. And like everyone opened the presents on Christmas Day and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so great. Like, thank you for thinking of me. And he was like, yep. I'm like, 8 minutes. Not kidding. 8 minutes, including time to wait in line. It was epic.
That's how it should be, right?
I was at Five Below for an hour and 20 minutes. I was like, I'm ready to never mind. No more gifts. Like, you guys are being too thoughtful. Too thoughtful. Like,
you're done.
The thoughts have been had. We have moved on from the thoughts. We are now in the sequel of thoughts, and I need to go home.
They were in a decision paralysis. They're like, well, which one? I'm like, anything. Seriously, it's all $5. It doesn't matter. Just buy it.
Yeah. Just right. Whatever you want.
Oh my gosh. I love it. Well, I really, we really appreciate you guys sharing, some holiday things, looking forward to the season. Because I do think the more we talk about it and normalize the fact that like the expectations are so high and where are they coming from and how to think about it differently. So thank you both for coming on, and happy holiday gauntlet to everybody out there in whatever that means.
Yeah, this was great, you guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.